On today's show, Slovenia's Eurobasket run comes to an end. What was the biggest reason for their downfall? And then, Luka Doncic was named the best player to build around under 25, according to NBA executives. Was anyone even close? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, but the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know, what do you think was the biggest reason for Slovenia's Eurobasket loss to Poland? Their run comes to an end. Some would say I jinxed them, but I think I hedged enough yesterday on the show, if I do say so myself. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the me Slovenci sir, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Me Slovenci.
Still Slovenci, right?
Me Slovenci. Should we rock the scarves all season?
All season?
That's something I'm trying to figure out. I feel like I had to wear it today.
I thought you were going to say all pod. You went all season, like all Mavs season? We got to... You and I in Dallas, Texas are going to wear scarves?
No, I am so ready for the weather to get cold. But shout out to Becca, who works for the Mavs social, and she made a joke the first time I wore this scarf that I looked like Gru from the Minion
Can you
movie.
say? Can you just 1 second just say, "I'm going to steal the moon"?
I'm going to steal the moon. I've never seen that movie, but there you
go. I have that clip forever. On today's show, we're going to get into Slovenia's loss to Poland on Eurobasket. Their Eurobasket run is done. Such a fun run. It's been so fun watching these Eurobasket games. And now, we talked yesterday glowingly about how Giannis and Jokic were both out. And now Giannis, Jokic, and Luka, the three best players in the whole tournament, are out. And there's a lot to talk about with that. And then HoopsHype had an NBA executive survey. They surveyed 15 executives across the NBA. And they asked who are the best players under 25 to start a season with, or to start next season with, to build your team around. And Luka Doncic was obviously number one. But how much was he number one, and who else was even close? We'll talk about that. Who would we pick in our list and all that. So we'll talk about that later in the show. But let's start with the boys. Slovenia. They lose 87-90. And it was like, that final score tells you absolutely nothing about this game. Like, if you looked at this box score, you'd be so confused because first quarter, you had, Slovenia got outscored 29-26. Second quarter, they got outscored 29-13. Like, they just couldn't score in the second. And then they outscored Poland in the third quarter 24-6. They made this huge comeback. They're down 20 at half. In the third quarter, they make a huge comeback. They're down by 1 at the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they go into it. They're looking all right. Luka gets ejected from the game. They're down by 10 with like 1 minute to go in this game. And then, and you're like, oh, it's done. They're down by 10, a minute to go. They cut it to 3. And then last second, they have like they get like try a last second shot. They can't call timeouts during live ball situations, and so they couldn't call a timeout. They had to just go with it. And Preplovic tried to take a shot from deep. He got from like half court. He got fouled. They didn't call the foul. The refs in this game were just like, let's do the
Polish.
thing. Let's do the thing. We don't like to complain about refs on this show. However, the refs in this game were just all over the place, and many of you I've seen in comments and stuff have been complaining about these FIBA refs, and Luka lit into this ref after the game. I mean, just absolutely just went out there. The camera was on him for a good 5-6 minutes afterwards, and he was just going off. at this ref, saying things that I can't translate. I'm sure if you're Slovenian and you're listening to this, you could probably translate it. But man, it was just a rough way to end. And there's a lot of reasons, but their run comes to an end here with Poland.
Yeah, I had that game on, and it was I had different meetings and stuff at work, and I saw the Luka ejection, and then they go down by 10. And honestly, I had some other things coming up, and I just turned it off. I'm like, dang it, I can't see this. And then you texted me, and you're like, dude, this game, like, I forgot what you said, but you're talking about how crazy Slovenia. And I was like, wait, they lost, didn't they?
Yeah, you were like, they're down by 20, right? And I was like, no, turn it back on.
Yeah, and so that's why I was like, holy crap, they actually came back there at the last minute or so. But I just hate it so much for, we were just on yesterday's pod. I don't care if y'all want to say we jinxed or whatever, but we were just on yesterday's pod saying that this is, it was like setting up a path for them kind of, no Serbia, no Greece. Not that they were like huge, like they were going to lose anyway to those guys, but they had the two other best players in the tournament. And I was super bummed because I'm like, all right, here we go. Get past. You read the odds on yesterday's pod about how much they were favored in this
on
game.
BetOnline, Slovenia was a 14-point favorite.
Yeah, and it never seemed to click for him. And Luka, he struggled in this game. Even, before he got, he was bounced from the game. It's 14 points, 2 of 7, from 2 and 3 of 8 from 3. It's like he was 5 of 15 from the floor. They just, this team especially, they have to have Luka have a really good game. And if not, Dragic hit 17, Goran, because his brother didn't play.
Yeah.
But they had to have Luka have a massive game, and it just never clicked. And this is the March Madness style of Eurobasket. One game. This isn't a series. And so now they're just bounced.
There's a couple of reasons why they lost this game. One of them, Luka was not 100%. You could just tell. There was a report a couple days ago, I think 2 days before the game, that he had tweaked his ankle in practice. He had sat out of practice for Slovenia, and I could just tell. Like, I think I tweeted it out early because I wanted to be on the record of saying that he doesn't look right, because I knew that people would be like, "Oh, don't use that as an excuse at the end of a game." No, like he really just didn't look right at all. He didn't look 100%. You can tell on certain drives. You can tell just by the way he was attacking. And there was a couple of offensive possessions in the first half that he just wasn't even in the play. Like, if Dragic was the one initiating the offense, Luka would just stand out, like, way out. I'm pointing if you're on the audio. He would go way out, like where James Harden or Russell Westbrook would go during an off-ball, like, possession. He would just, like, completely take himself out of the play. And to me, I was like, oh, he doesn't feel right. And then he got nicked up a couple times in this game. There was a hand injury that happened in like the third or the second or third quarter, where a teammate like stepped on his hand after he got a big block. And there's just a couple other, like, he landed hard at the end there. Like there's just a lot of different things that happened to him. You could just tell he wasn't physically 100%. And so selfishly, as someone that covers the Mavericks and wants to see Luka play for the Mavericks, I was like, okay, well, they're out now. At least he gets to heal up and all that, because he was just, he literally limped out of this game. Like, he limped to the sidelines after this. And you're glad that he gets some rest here coming up. But I was concerned.
Can we take a positive angle to this and take off the scarf for a second? From the Mavs angle,
yeah,
this was going to be a quick turnaround anyway.
I hate doing this, but yeah.
But like, in realistically, it's only a few more days, and obviously there were going to be 2 more games. But from a Mavs angle to this, if you want to look at it from this lens here, if they played in the finals, that was going to be on Sunday, and so then media day in Dallas was going to be a week from that next day, so a week from that Monday. So he was just going to have, realistically 5 days to chill and do whatever, and then he's got to travel back to Dallas. So now he gets a few more days. Obviously you listen to this on a Thursday, so gets a few more days to chill, go on a little vacation, and then head back to Dallas next weekend, because media day for the Mavs coming up on the 26th. And that's here before we know it. Did y'all know last year we
No.
we talked to Jalen Brunson on media day,
No,
and
stop it. Stop. All right, coming up, let's talk a little bit more about the Slovenia team. Let's talk about our thoughts about Eurobasket. One of the why this team kind of fell short at the end, because I think there were some signs, and I want to share some of these signs coming up. And then let's get into the list about the 25, the best players under 25 to build a team around. Luka Doncic was obviously number one, but it was not close. And so we'll talk about who came second and who's maybe biting at Luka's ankles, his knees. Like, what's the phrase?
You're asking me what the phrase is?
We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. I tried to tell you guys yesterday on BetOnline, they had Slovenia by 14. And I said, man, if they win this game by 10, you could still hedge and take Poland and you could still win. So you could have won some money on BetOnline yesterday. They got all kinds of other stuff. You can check out the Eurobasket stuff. They have Spain versus Germany on the other side. That one's coming up on Friday. Isaac, who do you think they have favored? Germany or Spain?
Oh, they got Germany by about 3.5.
Germany by 4. Good guess.
Oh!
Good guess. You looked it up.
I didn't.
Yeah, Germany's favored in that game. You can check out Eurobasket. You also check out the NFL. I don't know if anybody's looking at the Cowboys at this juncture, at this moment. There's all kinds of different.
Sean Payton is.
There's all kinds of different NFL odds that you can pick and find. There's props, there's games, there's spreads, there's money lines, all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. It's BetOnline. It's where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis, Luka. Which NBA players moved the betting line the most this season? Locked On and the BetOnline odds makers present NBA's top 50, the most valuable players, starting on September 19th. Find it on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast. They'll be ranking that. We'll be doing some cool stuff on that and having some episodes on that next week. All right, Isaac. Before we talk about the Slovenia team, I do want to play some audio from Luka because he had a quote after the game. And, we say, hey, selfishly, as people that cover the Mavs, people that love the Mavs, you as a Mavs fan probably are like, I'm glad that he gets to play for the Mavs. I'm glad that, but this stuff really matters to him. We've talked about this whole run, this Eurobasket run, how much this matters to him and how much this run matters to him. And we were going to be fine. We loved watching these games. We hoped Slovenia would win and all that. And these games really mattered to him. And he was asked after the game if he's nursing anything, if there's any kind of injuries, and just how he felt about the game, and this was his answer.
basketnews.com. Luka, we saw you holding your back, limping a bit. Physically, weigh you 100 or a bit less?
I don't know. Probably not 100%. I received an injection in third quarter. I've been dealing with a lot this Eurobasket. But that's not the reason, Today I played terrible. I let my team down. I let the whole country who was supporting us down. And that's on me. And I got to look back at this game and be better.
So he said he got an injection in the third quarter because it was so bad. His ankle injury was so bad. Like that makes you cringe a little bit that he had to do that. And that he was just dealing stuff all Eurobasket. And it's true. And honestly, I think that's the biggest reason why they lost. I think that was the first sign, is when I saw him not be 100%. I was like, oh, he doesn't have it. And I even tweeted during the game, like I think it was our friend Ari Levy that tweeted out, like, they're gonna need an incredible run from Luka in the second half. And I said, I don't think he's got it physically. And in that third quarter, it completely proved me wrong because he went all for it. And then after that, Slovenia was just gassed. They didn't have enough to get towards the end. But a hurt Luka is just not enough with this team, and especially with Zoran Dragic out as well. Like, they're just down two huge pieces in their rotation.
Well, I mean, it's going to be the same for the Mavs this season. Like, if he's hurt, they're done. Like, I mean, it's the same thing. So I hate seeing him like that. And he puts so much on his shoulders, and, he knows that this was, the captain, Dragic's last Eurobasket game, probably game with Slovenia, national team and everything. He wasn't even going to play in this. And then he changed his mind and came and played in it. And it would have been really cool for them to ride off to the sunset. So, but I do really like seeing it. It's so much fun watching Luka play for his country because he values it so much and he has so much passion for it. It's just a lot. we've watched every single basketball Luka's played since he was drafted by the Mavs in 2018. So it's it is fun to see him play for something he's so passionate about, and he's going to be ready and hyped up for the next time that they get to play.
Yeah, he really wanted this. And I think the Zoran Dragic absence was missed a lot more than people thought, because this Slovenia team does not have a lot of wings. They just didn't. They were pretty low on wings. It was basically all on Chanchar to guard some of these guys. And the Polish wings. Who's that guy? Ponita? I can't. There's no way I'm going to say that guy's name. It was like the first triple-double in like 15, 20 years. 26 points, 10 assists, 16 rebounds. Just an incredible run for them. But they were a little wing deficient. All kinds of different reasons that the Slovenia team went down. They didn't get hot from three. That was kind of one of their things. If they don't get hot from three, they have to have a couple other things go right defensively. And
they also didn't have my guy, the other Bear.
Dimic, no, they didn't have him, and Toby was dealing with some foul trouble in this game early, and so yeah, there's just so many different reasons why the Slovenia team lost. But what are your thoughts on how now that Luka, Giannis, and Jokic are all out?
The ratings people are pissed.
Seriously, because they were hyping up that whole thing. The last superstar left is Rudy Gobert.
Evan Fournier. If you don't know Fournier, just Google him.
Yeah, do a quick Google search.
I mean, I guess it's France versus. I mean, should we write off Poland right now? But probably not.
I guess not. I wrote off Poland yesterday.
I mean, Dennis Schroeder, go win Eurobasket.
I know, Franz Wagner.
Get you some money. Like talking about a good showcase for some NBA teams. Go win Eurobasket and be the star. And I'm sure that's what he's thinking right now.
Wild. So this Eurobasket run comes to an end. It's tough for us to see Slovenia go down like that. We move on now to the Dallas Mavericks.
I do want to say this real quick. The Olympic run and obviously this run, a lot of Slovenian listeners, obviously listen to the show, and y'all let us kind of hop on the bandwagon, and be honorary Slovenians and have fun with our scarves and
welcomed us.
And welcomed us and our Luka Slovenia jersey and all this stuff. Like, it's so much fun. Obviously, we didn't have a connection to the country of Slovenia before Luka, and now, I'm legit. Whenever we look at vacation stuff, I'm like, hey, if we ever go to Europe, I think we got to swing by Slovenia. And I never, I didn't know anything about it before, and so it's just fun. It's just a country that, I'm learning more and more about because of Luka. And so many of you listeners have embraced our show and writing me Slovenci whenever we're, chanting, having fun with it. So thanks for allowing us to hop on the bandwagon and be honorary Slovenians for a bit.
100%. All right, let's move on to this NBA executive survey. HoopsHype took this survey, and it was Mike Scotto. He took this in January of 2020, so I think he's been slowly rolling this out. I don't know how slow. That's very slow if he's took this in January 2020. But he took this and he had 15 NBA executives across the NBA, so it could be from anywhere.
Well, to clarify, they did this poll in January 2022, and then they repeated it before the season. So
maybe I should read the whole paragraph and not just the first two sentences.
Just like a headline,
I'm what's wrong with the world. Okay, so they repeated it. They asked 15, same thing. They asked 15 executives to pick 5 players and to rank 5 players as to who they would pick as one player under the age of 25 to build their team around. And so then they took those 5 players, each of them got a point, and then they kind of did a whole point total. Luka Doncic, number 1, obviously. I think it's just pretty clear. And he had 100% of the maximum points possible. So every single one, all 15 of these NBA executives pick Luka Doncic as the one player under 25 to build their team around right now. He was the unanimous number 1 choice. Just give everybody a little taste. What makes Luka such a unanimous choice in this scenario?
No, I mean, it's hands down. I was actually surprised it was kind of unanimous. I thought at least one person, I don't know, I guess Boston didn't get pulled, but I thought Tatum might get at least one just because we just saw him in the finals and all of that. And
no, we just saw him in the finals, and that's why you wouldn't pick him, because the way he played in the finals.
Well, I mean, he plays good defense stuff too, but it should be unanimous. Like this shows me, hey, we got some smart executives in the league. No,
it's the right choice.
Yeah, it's the right choice. You don't get the combination of Luka's size, his playmaking, his shot, his everything. Like that's the type of player you want to build a franchise around. And to be honest, like I know we're about to get in. There's somebody else lower, too low on this list because I think he's of the same like type of mold of what I would want to start a franchise with. And a primary ball handler at that size to run a team, you just can't beat that for Luka Doncic.
Who's too low on this list? We'll talk about that coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, we're continuing on HoopsHype's players that you want to build a team around under the age of 25. Luka was number one, the unanimous choice. All 15 of these NBA executives put Luka as their number one option. Number two was Jason Tatum. He got 69% of the vote.
Nice.
You had John Morant at 44%. He was number three. Evan Mobley, 28%. He was number four. Number five, Anthony Edwards at 16%. Zion Williamson at 12%. Scotty Barnes, 8%. LaMelo at just about 7%. Trae Young, 4%. Darius Garland, 4%. Cade Cunningham, about 3%. Jalen Green, 3%. So that means like 2 votes. They got 2 votes in this. Gilgeous-Alexander, and then Tyrese Halliburton. So that's the 13 players that got votes in this. And you think that there was one player that was too low. Who's that?
I think Cade was too low. I'm just a big believer in him. I think he's going to have a big-time season. I think kind of the same stuff that you say about Luka, his size, running point guard, run the offense, just what he can do. I'm just a big believer. And he was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was 11th on this list. And It's like you look at some of the names above him, like I would start a franchise with him over Darius Garland, over Trae Young, over LaMelo. I would take him over Scotty Barnes. I would take him over Zion, and to start a franchise with, like, I would put him like 6 on this list. So, I just think he's way too low. And I think after this season, I think he's going to skyrocket up this list and be viewed as like an Anthony Edwards type guy.
I'm with you on Cade Cunningham too low. So like the players above him, Darius Garland, Trae Young, LaMelo, Scotty Barnes, Zion. Like I'm not sure that I'm putting all those guys 100% ahead of Cade Cunningham after we've only seen 1 year. Like we see some guys that it takes them a year to just get acclimated to the NBA, and then they take off in year 2. And even Luka was like, he had to get acclimated. He more so had to get acclimated to his coach. And then the second year, the coach really gave him the reins. But there's still an acclimation process, whether it's the player with the game or the game with the player sometimes. And I think Cade Cunningham is going to be that for him too. And Cade's supposed to be a better shooter than what Luka is too. So like he has that going for him. In other ways, he's obviously not as good as Luka, but you can compare the two because of the size, the passing ability, their scoring ability. And that's what you need. That's what you want in the NBA. And the guys above him just have too many flaws that I'm too wary of, right? Like,
yeah.
Where
do you think Paolo falls on this list next year?
Ooh, well, he didn't get any votes now. He could have gotten votes.
Oh, could he have?
I'm pretty sure, right? They did it ahead of the season, so you could have picked anybody under the age of 25. But Tyrese Halliburton got a vote and he didn't. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got a vote and Paolo didn't. You're super high on Paolo.
I am. Yeah, I am. I like him a lot.
Let's just go. Let's go through it for you. Okay, so would you take any of these guys over Paolo? Halliburton?
No.
SGA?
No.
Jalen Green?
No.
Cunningham?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would take Cunningham over. Darius Garland?
I'll take Paolo.
Trae Young?
Let's move on.
Answer.
No, I would take Trae.
Answer the question. You would take Trae Young. Okay, so we're
probably right now. That's
LaMelo.
Yeah, I'd take LaMelo. I'd cut it off.
Okay, so you're cutting it off right. The Scotty Barnes. You'd cut it off right there for Paolo. So like somewhere in the 10-ish range if you're moving Cade up.
Yeah. And after I see him play for a whole rookie season, I might move him up from there. Like I just once again, like at 6'10", like is it crazy that I would take Mobley over Ja to start a franchise?
No, I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing because it's just so rare to have a guy like Mobley.
Yeah.
And like the thing about Ja is a great floor raiser for a team because he's always going to go balls to the wall. He's always going to give you that effort. He's always going to get the 50-50 stuff. But when you have to get buckets, when you have to do certain things, have to get a stop. I'm just not sure. I think there's a certain ceiling with that with Ja Morant. Now, he could prove me wrong for sure, but I think that a guy like Evan Mobley, he can get you a stop in a situation a couple years in his career. He's going to get you a bucket at a certain point in his career because of his size. And that matters a lot. I mean, look at the two guys at the top of this list, Luka and Tatum. Both guys are like 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah. That's why I think Ja versus Anthony Edwards is a fascinating debate.
Let's do it then.
Explosion, Anthony Edwards at his size on the wing. You get a point guard in Ja. What do you value the most? There's a little bit more injury stuff with Ja.
And with Anthony Edwards, it's not the size like his height. You're not looking at Ja and Anthony Edwards and go, oh, well, because Anthony Edwards is like 2 inches taller than Ja, that's a huge difference. It's his strength, right? You see that guy play and he can bully people. You're not seeing Ja Morant bully people. He can get by somebody quick. I mean, he is the best in the NBA at, point A to point B. I'm just going to blow right by you. You're going to have no shot. But with Anthony Edwards, you can muscle your way. And I think you see more success with that later in people's NBA careers at a higher level. Like the most successful small guard in NBA history is Steph Curry. He's not killing you with his speed. He's killing you with his shiftiness. He's killing you with his handle, like all that kind of. Kyrie, kind of the same thing. You start going through some of these Isaiah Thomas, like the Pistons Isaiah Thomas, start going through some Chris Paul, go through some of these small guards, and that's how they find success at the highest level. So that's why I have a question about that. Whereas in Anthony Edwards, there's a litany of guards that are in his kind of build. Kobe Bryant, like Michael Jordan. Start going through some of these guards. Clyde Drexler, where you can just see that, okay, that's how he's going to succeed at a higher level. If you're building a team around him, you're trying to look at, all right, what is the ceiling of this?
Who's the guy on this list that you're like, ooh, that guy's like situation is one I'm scared about from keeping Luka from a ring?
Okay, well, I told you this before the show when we were talking about this.
That's why I reworded the question.
The one thing in the way of Luka Doncic getting a ring is the Mavericks.
Who's the guy on this list? And what situation?
Oh, that's a conversation you don't want to have right now. Isaac Harris of Mavs.com. That's something you don't want to talk about right now.
We're about to have media day coming up, and last year we had Jalen Brunson. And
no, stop. The one player that I'm looking at, Mobley with his Cavs team. I mean that they're staying in the way, but I'm not worried about Ja in Memphis. Like that's the highest Western Conference guy. Anthony
I'm
Edwards
so
in
fascinated
Minnesota, I guess.
Like what? The more I look into the West, the more I'm landing on Memphis as this, like, what are you going to be? Like, are you going to be the Hawks? That's the overachieving team who, like, they went to the conference finals. Obviously Memphis didn't, but had this like big time season. You finished as one of the top seeds in the West. And then you like come back down to earth next year. They lost some key pieces and all of that. Or are they like sustainable success? And it's going to be, something that you're going to be there every year. That's what I'm like. Well, I just don't know what to think of them.
Well, you look at them even against that Warriors in that series. They won a game by 40 points. Like they're either like getting dominated or dominating sometimes. And you're like, all right, pick one. What are you? Are you this crazy world beater, or are you this, like team that's like trying to punch above their weight a little bit here?
There's just a path for them to like come back down to earth super fast next year with Jaren Jackson Jr. surgery. They lose Slow-Mo. They lose DeAnthony Melton. Like, they get 3 rookies on their team. Like what?
They can't keep the success up of these rookies, right? Like every single year, it feels like they bring in another rotation player of these rookies, and it's got to stop somewhere, right? Like,
I like some of the guys. Like
I do too. We like them. We like them in the draft,
but I don't know. There's just a path where they come crashing down super fast. There's also a path where Ja Morant puts up like MVP type numbers, stays healthy
for sure,
and keeps the Grizzlies afloat until Jaren Jackson comes back. So
also they have 5 rookies. They have 2 two-ways, and then they have 3 guys on their roster: LaRavia, David Roddy, Kennedy Chandler.
Dang. That's wild. Zion's a big question mark. You just don't know what you're gonna get. Like, I mean, you look at the West, and it's like, all right, who are you like scared about the most on this? Like, you look at the East, it's like Cavs have a good young team. Tatum, obviously, Scotty Barnes in Toronto. You look at Cade in Detroit. Like, there's not.
It's gonna
like
take
all
Detroit
these guys
a while,
are
though.
Yeah, but these guys are like fairly healthy and stuff right now. I think there's some question marks, obviously with Zion, and what does Minnesota look like? Like, we've talked about the ups and downs of Minnesota. Like, they could be a top 4 seed, they could be a play-in team.
Final question on this: who has the best chance to catch Luka? Tatum's gonna age out of this list. Is anybody else are you looking at saying, all right, they could catch Luka and maybe get some more votes? Because I don't think anyone's gonna pass him, but who could get more votes? Because Luka's gonna be on this list next year too, because he's gonna be under 25 next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world that Ja could, if he has this crazy season, but I don't think it's Ja. I think it's Evan Mobley. I think he's the one. I think he can have if Cleveland has a monster season and he like separates himself from that crew to where it's like, oh, like
he's like Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, it's like Mitchell, Jared Allen, Darius Garland. Like, you have a core 4 that is awesome, but we clearly know that Evan Mobley's the future. Like, if you ever had to pick,
he's what makes it work.
Yeah, he is the future alpha at 6'10", what you could do. Like, that's the type of, I think he is the one that could, if Luka's not unanimous next year, it's because Evan Mobley's getting a couple votes.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Anthony Edwards will probably have a leap too. It's a very similar situation to that. Like, they both added, both those teams added former Jazz players, and if they are the ones that stand out on their team, you could see Anthony Edwards jumping up this list a little bit. The problem with him though is like defensive playmaking. If you don't do one or the other, it's hard to rise up a list and shooting. Like, if all 3 of those things are kind of hard for you, it's hard to rise up lists like this. You have to be elite at a couple of those.
How soon before LaMelo asks out?
Ask out?
Yeah.
I don't know. This team may be rough this year. I mean, they might
Shout out
not
to
even,
Doug.
They probably won't even make the play-in this year.
I know.
The East is so tough.
It's like, you look at some of these other young like guards and stuff. It's like they actually have stuff happening around them that makes sense.
We talked about this on Locked On NBA last week, but we talked about which teams are most affected by the Donovan Mitchell trade. The Hornets have to play the Cavs and the Hawks, who both added like all-star guards 4 times next year. Like,
dang.
I know. Like, that, their schedule is so brutal. They have to play all the teams, like all the teams in the West or in the East at least 3 times. Then they have to play the Cavs and the Hawks 4 times. Play all the good East, all the good West teams at least twice. Like, their schedule is just so brutal.
What's the odds LaMelo's a New York Knick in 2 years?
We do this all the time. I would bet the field, like, so much money on the field over the Knicks. All right, there you go. That's Slovenia. That's the end of our Eurobasket coverage, and then that's Luka Doncic as the number 1 player to build your team around. We will be back tomorrow talking NBA 2K ratings and what NBA 2K thinks about the Mavericks and if we agree or disagree and all that. So we'll talk about that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!